first car of the day, high beams on. Now I want you all to consider this. This is very important. Of the top 50 cities with the highest homicide rates in the world, the only African cities on that list were from South Africa. Think about how much white people live in South Africa and its history compared to other African nations. Think of apartheid. It was South Africa. It came in at, I believe, number 8. When we remove the Mexican drug cartel cities, because that's like comparing the murder rate in Ukraine to cities that aren't at war, right? There's a drug war going on there historically, okay? And it's like having a rebel force challenging the power of the government. You see what I'm saying? When we remove those cities, okay, American cities are neck and neck with Cape Town. Okay, this guy's bright sun. With Cape Town, which would then become number 1. Okay, so St. Louis, Missouri, and Baltimore are neck and neck with Cape Town, South Africa. When we remove the drug cartel cities like Tijuana and what have you from the list as the cities with the highest homicide rate in the world. Your Bible says, to him whom much is given, much is expected. So my first point then becomes, and we'll get into that point again later, it's one of my later on points, but I decided to do it first. America is the most powerful country in the world, so there is no excuse for their failure in regards to governance. There's no excuse for the homelessness, the crime. There's no excuse for hungry children when the GDP is as high as it is and the wealth distribution. Lead me to point number 2. White families have on average 60 times, over 60 times the generational wealth that black families do. If they're so superior, how come the countries where white people rule over black people have the highest governance rate, but the countries where the highest homicide rates in their cities? Okay, some of their cities have the highest homicide rates in the world. And when you remove the drug cartel violence, which is a result of feeding Western drug habits, mind you, first and foremost, okay, how come that is the case? How come Nigeria, for instance, does not, Lagos, with all the cults and all the stuff going on, how come they're governing there, and there's white people that live in Nigeria? So where black people are governing over black people and white people, they have done a better job with everything considered, especially when we consider proxy governments, okay, puppet governments. So your governance argument actually does not work in your favor, unless your argument that drug use, we'll get to that, and homicides don't matter. And that proxy and being the proxy government of another government doesn't matter. Point number 3. 1 out of every 5 people on the planet is imprisoned in America. They govern people so badly, that they don't hold themselves accountable as the source of crime, the major source of crime, okay, and they imprison people at a high rate in America, to the point that even though there's 8 billion people in the world, only 329 million of them live in America. 1 in 5 people imprisoned, all these people have their brights on the planet are in America. Reminds me of Tupac's song. He said, we got to start making changes. If the victims of the white establishment say they got to start making changes to do better, how much more the source of criminality, which is the white establishment? Okay? It's like a rape victim gets raped. She turns to drugs to make herself feel better, and you tell her, hey, you're the only one who has to make changes. What about the society that raped her? Okay? And the person that raped her in that case. You get what I'm saying? and making it kind of hard for me to talk. Long story why it is, I'm covertly fumed, poisoned, what have you, with witnesses. I have several witnesses to the fuming aspect alone. I have over 22 witnesses to the sabotage in general. And then there's these videos that they'll probably edit in the future and pretend like I'm crazy. Okay. So now we get 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 9 boys are sexually abused in their lives. If their culture is so superior and their governance is so acceptable to the point where people shouldn't come together and demand a morally precise administration, a morally precise political party, how come we're seeing 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 9 boys get sexually abused? Is America a fucking war zone? Okay, you know, only if animals ruled over America will we see that high of a rate of sexual abuse of children. The guy had his brights on as well. 5. Okay. Give me a second here. This is strange. This guy's on the road. I don't know why. He's waiting for. I guess he's waiting for his gate to open or something. That's probably what it is. Yeah. Oh, he's waiting for this guy to back out. Okay. This guy behind him right here. His black brights on and daytime running lights on behind it. 2 black vehicle, trucks, and what looks like a dark colored vehicle behind him. Black red. Oh, he has it brights on too. Now, this is a very telling moment. It brightened the hell out of me. All right. I don't think it's a coincidence the topic I'm talking about. Okay, Range Rovers, right? Not just South Africans and English people. So anyway, about 1% of America. Okay, 1% of Americans use cocaine, according to one study of about 2.9 million people or so, and that makes America the country with the highest cocaine consumption rate in the world. Okay, so to speak, a bunch of cocaine. Yeah, it's 1%, 0.8%. Okay, but that's a lot. We're talking cocaine. If 1% of people ate their own foot, okay, would you be like, oh, that's no big deal? Okay, there's 329 million people in America. 1% is like 3.29 million people. There's 3.29 million people in America using fucking cocaine. Okay? They weren't exactly raised perfectly. They're not exactly governed perfectly. Do you see what I'm saying, folks? Do you understand what happens when you don't put moral precision first and you lie about God and you put Christian propaganda instead of the truth, the absolute truth? And especially when you argue that your church is the truth and everyone else is the propaganda. Okay? Now, let's look at law enforcement. In LA, for example, in the LAPD alone, there's sheriffs, there's FBI, there's highway patrol, there's marshals, and whatever else there is, okay? LAPD alone has 10,000 police officers. How the hell you didn't win the war on drugs, and you haven't suppressed crime, and you haven't made positive cultures when you have 10,000 police officers in the LAPD alone? Okay, and don't forget the other cities around that area in LA County. They have their own police officers as well. Okay? There's no excuse for the failure that we see there. Now let's look at college statistics. Point number 6. 26.4% of females and 6.9 or 8 or 9% of males are sexually assaulted or raped since starting college. These are people in college, mind you. They're getting raped. They're raping guys. Okay, that's like, it's more than 1 in 20 guys is sexually assaulted or raped in college, right? There's a bunch of crazy, gays are like only 2 to 5% of the population. People are getting their shit tucked. Excuse my French. Women are getting raped and people are getting abused. Okay, at high rates. What kind of governing clowns are in charge? Hey guys, we can't stop it. Yeah, pass the kid, right? It's fucking despicable. So Pizzagate and all that doesn't have to be true. All that has to be true is that this is an outrage. This is occurring at high rates, and obviously the governing class are very much part and parcel, or they would have launched a campaign against it a long time ago. If they were truly disgusted by it, they would have all but wiped it out by now. Okay, because it's not that hard to change the culture to keep people from abusing fucking children, you sexually immoral ruffians. You rich savages. Classless, blood money, goons. And perhaps I shouldn't be upset about that. Perhaps I'm mentally ill for being bothered by 1 in 4 little girls being raped, and 1 in 4 college students who are females, and over 1 in 20 college students who are males. The United States is also, point number 7, among the most depressed countries in the world. Afghanistan, for example, right now is said to be number 1. Well, why do you think that is? They just had a massive war there. Okay, as soon as we compare it to war, once we remove the war zone countries, it probably is number 1. Okay, not quite, but you get what I'm saying. When you look at reasons to be depressed versus just bad governance and poor and evil cultures, okay, my goodness. And then watch the probably, I'm not a Muslim from northern Nigeria. This guy's his bright song, and this guy coming up has his bright song. Okay, but American, Western culture needs changes. Okay, it's stupid to scapegoat just gang members and rappers, right? It's fucking retarded. They're responding to the mainstream diabolical, devious, and despicable and disgusting cultures that govern them, and that didn't give them a fair chance, and it fucked them in the head, and they started acting out like you would expect them to. All right. So being suppressed, depressed, who people have tried to impress, impressed, suppressed, depressed, and oppressed are connected. Like we impressed women, why we impressed the kids before we raped them, does that count? And so on and so forth. 8. Okay, the point number 8 was, had to do with the fact that not a single African country besides South Africa was in the top 50, was listed in the top 50 cities with the highest homicide rates in the world. But America was. Nigeria wasn't. Ethiopia wasn't. Somalia wasn't. Libya, and so on and so forth. But America is. If your culture is so superior, and the black people here, very few of them speak African languages, why can't you govern them effectively? And everyone else committing homicides? Because your cultures are inferior. There's no other way to look at it. Is your argument that evil and deceit and child molestation is what makes someone superior? Maybe some of these homicides have to do with your cultures impressing upon people child molestation, and then someone blows someone away for molesting their child. You ever think that sometimes when people sell drugs to somebody, and somebody kills them not because they're trying to take over turf, but because they sold drugs to their kid? You people don't think. When somebody kills your brother on drugs, you think maybe you don't fucking retaliate? When some CIA drug goons fucking are raping and killing and drugging everybody, you think no decent people retaliate? Think. You fucking devils. Think. And I'm being shunned for people who uphold these cultures? You prefer people complicit with pedophilia? Not to act is as much of an act as to act. One who slackens his work is brother to one who destroys. You prefer controlled opposition, child molester accomplices to the Son of God, and you people don't think that's a problem enough to stop everything and change. That's mental illness, not moral outrage and righteous indignation. Across the street, this guy has his brights on big time. So big time that I'm going to change lanes to try to get it more. Yep, that white car on the left. They say you need to change your point of view. We're on our way to go rape a little girl, guys. Come on, guys, come on. It's fucking ridiculous. It's a stupid problem to have, to be shunned for child molesters and their fucking allies. On board, Boa Road, board. How's that for an anagram? Boa Road, you snakes, you vipers, you boa constrictors, you oppressors. Obviously I'm calm, so on and so forth. Usually by the time, it's interesting, it comes right when I come to town, they hit me with a few more lights. Yeah, they try to create you look at the pattern of the psychological operation, they're trying to create an outburst right before I park so they can say, this guy's a threat, he's driving erratically, he's a threat, but I'm not driving bad. Okay, this is day 22, okay? And I'm not a threat, okay? On this video series alone, I've been here 22 times. Has anyone called the cops? You know, I've been taken away. I have no criminal history as it stands, and I'm 40 years old. If I'm a threat, my goodness, what do you call the 1 in 4 fucking people